Hello, my beautiful souls. Today, I want to share a little bit of a personal story and a bit of a story around finding my voice and being able to speak up, to confidently use my voice to share my message, and more recently, how my voice has activated more of my soul gifts. Now, obviously, it wasn't always this easy for me to be able to talk on film, on camera, in front of people. And I remember probably about 5 years ago when I first started my healing journey, or my awakening journey. And part of the program that I was involved in, Step Into Your Light Worker, was all about, sharing in a communal space within the container. And even that felt quite nerve-wracking back then. But now it feels so much more comfortable for me to just pick up the camera and record my voice, or even for me to be able to start using my voice in session, in group containers, in group healings that I'm doing in my workshops and my retreats, because I feel as though something shifted along the way. And this story is really just about understanding my voice story, my voice journey, and just sharing this with you, because there is always the possibility and the opportunity for you to overcome your fear, whether and whatever that is, whether that is wanting to show up and be seen and be heard, whether that is you needing to speak up and to stand up for yourself, or whether it's about you really wanting to be more connected to your voice and to your inner strength in your inner gifts, because your voice really does carry so many amazing healing benefits and a really powerful, potent healing power. That's part of the reason that I really want to be able to share this story with you. So let's backtrack to past Carla. And to be honest, I don't really know where my fear of speaking up came from, but I have a little bit of an idea that if you've listened to my life story, you'll understand a little bit more about my background. But when I was young, when I was a little girl, I had leukemia. And thank goodness I am still here to share this story. But I think having leukemia at such a young age, I really felt that perhaps I switched off a part of me in order to not feel the full power or the full force of the pain or the trauma from lumbar punctures and things that were associated with me having cancer. And so I feel like I switched off, I disassociated, I disconnected, and in the process I probably also switched off my ability to articulate and communicate and verbalize, because it all kind of went together. Being disconnected from my body also kind of shut down my voice. And maybe not so much when I was younger, because I was quite a confident young girl, and I used to love to sing and read. I know that my mum has got recordings on tape of me reading stories, and I just really remember listening back to those. And as you get older, you start to appreciate those memories, but sometimes I used to listen to my voice and I used to cringe because I was like, oh my gosh, is that how I really sound? So that is, I think, the reason that I kind of maybe became disconnected to my voice. And I carried that feeling of disconnection not only to my voice but also to my body all the way into my adult life. And I had a lot of problems in my adult life where I felt that I didn't really take responsibility. I would shy away from and avoid communicating and confrontation, especially. I would avoid any sort of situations where I had to communicate. And when I found myself in a really vulnerable place, I didn't know how to speak to someone about it. You know, when you're, potentially crying your eyes out and someone says to you, what's wrong? And you don't actually know the answer because you can't distinguish or communicate exactly how you're feeling. Perhaps I probably didn't know how I was feeling. I was just completely overwhelmed with emotion and I didn't really know what to do with it, let alone be able to talk to someone about it. So I spent a lot of my youth, my sort of 20s, leading up into my 30s. It got quite bad in my 30s. And it got to the point in my 30s where my disconnection from my body meant that I couldn't regulate my emotions. And because I couldn't regulate my emotions would just show up whenever they wanted, randomly, in awkward, uncomfortable places. And it eventually began to spill over into my work. And I remember being in a confrontational meeting about my employment and not being able to actually get a word out, not being able to have that strength to say how I truly felt or what I truly wanted or needed in that moment. And consequently, it made me feel as though people just assumed that, there was something wrong with me, clearly, but it just didn't give me the platform to be able to speak up for myself. And I felt extremely disadvantaged. I felt a little bit attacked, which is really interesting because I think that is probably a little bit of a shadow or a little bit of a reflection on me, and some other things that I later learned, why I was always very defensive, and I held a lot of emotions in around that time. So now that I'm actually saying this out loud, it is starting to make a lot more sense. And I think for me and my personal experience around using my voice and sharing my voice, it was all about my emotional state. So my emotions would stop me from actually being able to connect to my voice and being able to have the confidence and the courage to actually speak my truth. And the more I learned how to regulate these emotions and how to create space for them and really just allow them to be present, to come up, because for a lot of my life I had really shut off or shut down from big emotions, and this is the outcome of some traumatic experiences that I had in my childhood that resolved or left me with unprocessed trauma and emotions that were still physically present in my body but suppressed. So it meant that I was very easily triggered. And then when I was triggered, obviously I went into shutdown mode. So this would shut down, everything, including my voice. So I am sharing this story because maybe I'm not the only one that has felt like this, and that's why I'm sharing my story. But another reason that I'm sharing this story with you is to let you know how important it is to create space and safety for your emotions to be present, to be felt, to be processed, and consequently be released from your body, and how this can actually impact your self-belief, your self-confidence, even your self-worth as well. Because prior to me kind of embarking on my healing, my awakening, I was obviously very disconnected, but my self-worth was in the toilet. Like, I used to be a very strong people pleaser, always used to believe that my worth was in the acts of service that I do for other people, or how much I could make someone laugh, or how drunk I could get to kind of fit in with the crowd. And so this whole journey around reconnecting to not only to myself and my body, but it also allowed me to reconnect to my voice and to be able to have more confidence and really believe that what I have to say needs to be heard and is valuable, and it deserves to have space and to have someone actually listen to me. So if you are listening to this, I really am so deeply grateful. Firstly, that you've taken the time, because I know how busy you are, but also to really hear me and listen to me and just be present for a single moment to be able to hear and receive these words. So I am wanting to share, because I've got something really exciting coming up, which is very new for me. And it is a little bit not scary. It's not scary, but it's a little bit more playful. It's something that I am wanting to bring to people to actually learn how to connect to your voice, and also be able to connect to your emotions and connect to those stories or experiences that you have perhaps shut down or suppressed, or just not really known how to create the space to be able to sit with them. So I am running a in-person retreat for one day on the 24th of August in Gisborne, where we are going to really create safety around being and introducing to your shadow, your kind of wounded self who has perhaps created these survival patterns. And I'm going to show you how to connect to your voice in a way that allows you to regulate and process some emotions, perhaps some heavier emotions that are buried deep within you, and how to move through these. So we're going to be having a little bit of a play, and mixing the energies of dark and light. And I say dark, but it's really just about bringing things to the surface to be felt, to be seen, to be witnessed. And we do this in a really beautiful and gentle way. And it's all completely at your own control, at your own pace, how much you want to release and express. So I would love to have you join me for this event and for this debut, and really come and learn how to connect to your voice and understand the story behind your voice. Get to know your voice a little bit better. So if you'd like some more information, please reach out to me, or you can head to my website, www.imasoulqueen.com. Sending you so much love, so much laughter, and so much happiness.